welcome to Turn Racing. Today I'm going to do a little bit of a shop tour, kind of a shop update. Maybe talk a little bit about what I got going on right now. Maybe I'll go briefly into kind of what Turn Racing is and what we kind of hopefully aspire to be. So let's get into it. So a lot of people think that Turn Racing is some big business, by a bunch of engineers and stuff with a bunch of backing, but it's really just me. My name's Zach, and I started Turn Racing back in 2016. I was doing it. I was sim racing just as a hobby. I kind of went from a hobbyist slash DIY person to trying to think that they could make a business out of this. And I really actually don't have an engineering background. I don't have a design background. I'm really more of a DIY person trying to become a professional. So, yeah, well, I can show a little bit of a shop tour today. Right now, I got quite a few different projects going on, and yeah, let's get into it. Okay, so this essentially is the shop. I actually live upstairs and I work down here, so it's just a detached garage at my parents' house. And well, it's nice because it's cheap rent and I can try to start a business from it with as low of costs as possible. And so it's really grown from essentially just one workbench to what you see here. I'll go over kind of each station, what they do, and kind of where I hopefully plan to grow. So it started with this little CNC machine. It's a Shapeoko 3. It's a good desktop, good learner machine. And I've, over the years, done a lot of modifications to beef it up. It's really not meant for aluminum, but I've done a fair bit of mods to it, and I can pretty consistently cut aluminum plates. Yeah, and another nice feature that it has is this dust extraction system. It really is kind of like what woodworkers use. And then what happens is I have a dust boot that will attach to the router, and then I'll turn on the vacuum, and if I'm cutting wood or garolite or any kind of material, carbon fiber too, it will just extract that dust and it won't make a mess. It's also in an enclosure, which helps with keeping the dust down in the shop. And this is kind of just my general assembly workbench. You can excuse the mess, I guess. But yeah, I do all my soldering right here. I have most of my hardware right there. And yeah, a couple different projects I'm working on. Right now I'm just kind of prototyping a button box for the 488. I've got a prototype button box for Fiesta WRC. And then I'm working on, this is really all prototyping stuff right here. I'm working on these like caps for the R20. I'll kind of maybe share more about that later, but I mean, looks pretty brutal, but it's kind of what prototyping is. And then I have another 488 I'm working on, and then this is actually the 488 challenge. I have some customers that are actual 488 challenge drivers, and so I'm making a replica button plate for them on their Sebelt steering wheel. Over here I do sanding. I've got the scroll saw, drill press, just kind of general workshop stuff. I really don't have any real production equipment. It's all pretty DIY. This is my powder coating booth. You can see here that I've got a plate all set up, and then I will powder coat that. I've got the powder coat gun and then the air compressor down there. And then once I cover it, it'll go in the oven for 30 minutes. Over here is my molding and tooling, and this is where I have my molds for the rubber grips. That is Mold Master for the R20. I'm gonna have a couple different molds of that. And you can see here, this is where I do all of the rubber grips. So it goes in the mold as just a plate, and then I'll cast it, and then it'll come out just like this here. I'm trying to be as much of a production shop as I can, so production is not pretty all the time. And so, yeah, especially with rubber, I don't think it's possible. I've seen production shops with rubber, it's always messy. And then also for the rubber casting, I have a pressure chamber, which I can use for pressure casting to eliminate bubbles if I want to really make it perfect. And so here is the CNC for with the drag knife for cutting suede. It is the Shapeoko 3 XL. And then I have a kind of custom done vacuum table. I wanted to really just do a proof of concept and do it the cheapest way possible. And it works pretty good, and I've kept it for a while. But yeah, I don't know, maybe someday I'll upgrade it to like a proper vacuum table. But yeah, it works for now. I'll just keep using it. And then that is the drag knife there. Over here, I have my 3D printer. It is the Prusa i3 Mark III. This thing is an absolute workhorse. I have the powder coat table on there, and I absolutely love it. It's zero maintenance. Table that it came with I had problems with it all the time, and so especially printing with PETG, it's a really good combo. So this is the sticker cutter. I can show what that looks like. So this is an example of a sticker that I make, and then I'll print it on my Canon photography printer and then cut it with this here. And then this is the Glow Forge. It is a laser engraver. I'll turn it on here and you can see I was kind of just doing some testing again on this piece, really testing different settings. But this thing is it's actually my most expensive piece of equipment I've bought. It's still a desktop machine, but it's pretty powerful, 45 watts. So it will do any engraving on aluminum that I need. Yeah, I really like that. I haven't used it really as much as I thought I would, but it's good to have. This is my NC industrial sewing machine. I really haven't gotten much use out of this either. I was always planning on having the R20 use stitching, which I still can in the future, but the process I have now seems to work pretty well, so I'm gonna stick with it. But yeah, hopefully in the future I'll get more use out of that. This here is my shrink wrapping station, so I will put my finished product in there, and then I can shrink wrap it to kind of get more of a professional look. So this is where I glue the suede after I cut it on the drag knife. I'll put contact cement on the wheel and on the piece of suede, and then I'll wrap it. This here is just a workbench that is kind of meant to be for carbon fiber, for upholstery, things like that. And this is actually my oven and my vacuum pump for carbon fiber. So yeah, that's actually a new process for me, but I'm excited to show more about that. I'm pretty heavily invested into this and into the tooling and design, so I'm excited to share that in the future. This is kind of just storage and then boxes that need to be broken down. I also have this here is a new hydraulic shop press, and I'll be using that for bending metal and other things that you can stay tuned on. And then that is the freezer that I keep my pre-preg carbon fiber, because not being used, it needs to be frozen. And then the last thing here is my suede wrapping station. So I have kind of over time gotten my own process. There's always things that you can improve on, but I can do a wheel in probably about an hour, like total per wheel. So I've gotten it down. It used to take maybe 4 hours, 4 or 5 hours to do from start to finish on a wheel. But yeah, now I can do it in about an hour. So I'd like to get it down to a half hour. I have a couple things that I'm going to be working on to get there. And then, so yeah, there's a batch of wheels going out this week, a little bit of everything. And then this is just sort of my shipping supplies. So boxes that need to be made. Those are the boxes that my wheels ship in. And then I always send suede brushes and Tootsie Pops and stickers with my wheels. So yeah, hopefully some of you found that interesting. I'm gonna try to do maybe a weekly or a monthly shop update, kind of what I got going on. It's constantly evolving, constantly changing. I'm on my 3rd year of business, and well, actually I should say I'm thankful that I finally am doing this full time. And so thank you to my customers. I've got 35 wheels to make right now, so also thank you to my customers for your patience, because people think that, you know, this is a large production shop and it's really just me in my garage. So I'm trying to keep up as best as I can. And yeah, I'm really glad that I can do this full time now. For the last 3 years, I was working a full-time job and doing this. And so I've invested, yeah, I would say a good 50,000 in my own money into this business. So, which is a lot for me. I mean, I pretty much came from nothing. So yeah, I appreciate it. Hopefully this was interesting to some of you, and we'll stay tuned.